lot of scientific data and numbers. I need to understand in English. I'm a lawyer, we take numbers, and the numbers are a lawyer.
Speak up a little, please.
I need to understand what I'm going to hear at that house.
Well, 30 decibels, which is the maximum sound level occurring at the property, not the house, the property, is the equivalent of you sitting in a quiet library. What do you hear inside a quiet library? That's 30 decibels. Are you going to hear that in your backyard? No. There's nothing, 30 decibel, huh?
Basically, you're not going to hear this. After all this testimony, what I'm hearing is these numbers show it's below ambient sound, so you will not hear this plant at all.
At all, with the mitigation.
With all the mitigation you're proposing. Basically,
Right.
that's what it is. You will hear it. If they put the sound wall up.
Now, I did the math and doing calculations to show you that it's 30, 23, 16, 8, 9 decibels. Those levels are below the threshold of hearing in most people. And the standards that are, the property line standards that are set forth in the regulations for both state and local, which are much higher than that, are 20 decibels higher. It's 50. 20 decibels is 4 times as loud. So technically, what you're going to be hearing outside your house could be 4 times louder and still be in compliance with the state regulation. So you're not going to hear these or be able to identify these sources above what you're hearing in there.
Without going into this whole booklet, and that's basically the sum of your whole testimony.
You did ask for a sound study.
Yeah, I know. I just, I'm looking at the time here, and let's see if we can conclude this.
Let me summarize real quick then, okay? Not to confuse it anymore, but just for the record, tables 5 and 6. Table 5 looked at the octave band levels based on the manufacturer's data and the sound level that we recorded at the site, and projected what the noise level, the octave band noise levels would be at the 4 receptor sites. And if you look at those octave band levels and look at column 2, all of the levels in columns 4, 5, 6, and 7 in table 5 are below the nighttime octave band standards in column 2. So beneath that are the levels that are presented in columns in tables 3 and 4 for the winter and the summer noise levels generated by the facility. And the breakdown of the octave band levels will also comply with the octave band standards in table 1. That's for the winter. For the summertime, the noise levels are 20-some decibels lower. They're going to comply with the octave band standards if the wintertime operation complies. So table 6 shows compliance with octave band levels in table 1. So in conclusion, the project complies with the state noise regulations in New Jersey Administrative Code 7:29-1. These are the same standards set forth in the local ordinance, Chapter 3, Section 3-1.5. The project generated noise levels are going to be lower than the existing daytime and nighttime measured ambient levels that we took at each receptor. And it will not be noticeable to the surrounding residents. And our compliance with the state and local regs and generating sound below the ambient, this project will not have an adverse noise impact on the surrounding residential.
Okay, Greg, do you have any questions?
Yes. You talked about the regulators quite a bit. What about the heaters? What impact will there be, or any noise from the heaters?
The heaters and the regulators, the sound generated by both, are included in the tables of results in tables 3, 4, 5, and 6. The difference between the heater noise, the manufacturer's spec that's also included in the back of my report, shows that based on the orientation of this equipment, the 3 heaters operating at 100% capacity generate a sound level of 56 decibels in the direction of the residences, the way the equipment is oriented. That's at 56 decibels at 3 feet, at 1 meter
From the equipment.
from the equipment. Compare that to the regulators are at 84 decibels at 3 meters. So there's a 28 decibel difference. The heaters are 28 decibels lower in noise than the regulators. So when the sound decibel, when the sound readings are 10 decibels apart, the lower noise level, because of the logarithmic function, the lower noise level has no impact on the higher one. A 10 decibel noise difference, if it's higher, it's a doubling of the sound. If it's 10 decibels lower, it's half the higher sound level. So if you're at 50, you have a 50 decibel noise level and a 40 decibel noise level. A 40 decibel noise level is half as loud as the 50. And the 50 is twice as loud as the 40. But the 40 will have no impact on the sound generated by the 50. So what happens in our assessment, the heaters do generate noise, but the regulators dominate the sound because they're almost 30 decibels louder than the heaters. The heaters will be in compliance with that 50 decibel standard, that property line standard, within 6 feet of the heater. You got 56 at 3 feet, it would be 50 at 6 feet. So within 10 feet of those heaters, you're already in compliance with 50. It's not going to be a concern off-site, but the noise wall is still around the perimeter, and it will effectively screen whatever noise that heater would generate off-site. The sound generated by the regulator will dominate, and it dominates the noise levels presented for site-generated noise in tables 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we accounted for both. Both pieces of equipment will be screened by the U-shaped sound wall to make sure that there is no impact on existing ambient noise levels within the
Anything else, Greg?
Yeah, the report talks about 2 options for mitigation. Could you explain the second option, and is that still on the table?
No, that second option in figure 2 in your report, we talked about the regulators are in this area on the site. And we had proposed, as I said, a U-shaped barrier inside the fence. We talked about, in lieu of the U-shaped barrier, another option would be to put the fence in U-shape right around the regulators. The closer you put this to the source, the more effective it is in screening the noise. But we analyzed the U-shaped barrier along the perimeter, and that did not generate an impact, and it shows compliance with the standards and no increase in ambient. We weren't certain at the time, although this is a good option from my perspective as a noise expert, we weren't 100% sure if that was an option for New Jersey Natural Gas. And what we found out was that due to required maintenance in and around the equipment, it would not be advisable to put a U-shaped sound wall around the regulators. So since the perimeter fence satisfies the requirements to attenuate the sound, New Jersey Natural Gas was not going to use the option.
I actually also prefer the perimeter fence because it does go around the heaters and gives us a measure of safety.
Okay.
Okay. So in summary, the equipment as proposed without mitigation would have exceeded noise levels.
It would have met the state regulations for 50 decibels at night, 65 daytime at the near residences, but it would have increased the nighttime ambient. And the daytime was okay, but at nighttime it would increase that ambient. It would be above the ambient level, which could be noticeable. So with the sound wall in place, it's going to be well below the ambient, the existing ambient levels, and will not impact existing conditions.
If the facility is approved and constructed and the mitigation goes up, is there any way to monitor it to see how it complies with your report? And if it doesn't, is there other mitigation that can be added to ensure that there is no effect to the neighborhood?
Well, yes, there is a way to measure it. We could go back to those same locations where we did the ambient test, and we could measure the sound level at those locations with the facility operating at its typical operating condition. As far as additional mitigation, I don't believe that will be necessary based on the sound levels that I've seen generated by both the heater and the regulator. But I guess we'll have to see what happens when we do the test.
Greg, anything else? Board members, do you have anything else?
I have a question. When you say it's measured 3 feet from the equipment, it looks to me like the 3 feet from the equipment is within the wall and not outside the wall.
The specification for providing sound data for any manufacturer of a noise generating source of equipment is to provide sound levels for that equipment. The minimum distance you want to get, let's say the minimum distance you want to be from that piece of equipment is 3 feet, 1 meter. A lot of manufacturers provide data at 10 feet away and walk around the equipment. So it's just a reading that we as noise experts take, locate that piece of equipment on the site, and then project what it would be using the physics calculations at a distance to the property line, at a distance to the residence, which is what we did here. It's just a standard that's used either 3 feet to 10 feet. I've seen some as far as 20 feet away. Depends on how big the equipment is and how far back you need to be to get a good reading.
It would still be within the wall. You put the equipment in, and then you measure it, and then you put the wall up.
Can I just clarify? So that 3-foot standard is just a manufacturer standard for the maximum sound without attenuation. Is that right? That 3-foot standard we were just talking about, or some cases a 10-foot standard?
It's just the location where they do the test. He took their piece of equipment, he measured at 3 feet. That's all I need. They could have measured at 10 feet. I could use that data too. It would have been lower than 84 because it was further away from the equipment. I'm not measuring equipment inside the site. I'm using the manufacturer's data to predict what it would be based on their readings, certified readings of sound from that equipment.
Okay. I said 9 o'clock, so we're going to see Nancy. Can he come back at the next meeting in case the public has questions for the sound?
Of course. You're available on the 17th. You're available on the 17th? Of course.
Okay. So at this point, I'm sorry. I'm adhering to my schedule just because I need to get all the other applications
I
in
completely
there.
understand.
But on August 17th, which is the day we're going to carry, I've asked Loretta to keep it clean of nobody else.
Okay.
And I'm gonna call her up if she puts anybody else on there. But we're gonna keep it empty. This way we could try to give the public a chance to ask all their questions. And if the board has more questions, we can ask. And After this witness, is there any other witnesses?
I have other witnesses. My plan is, I'm going to have Mr. Sanders talk very briefly about a couple of photos that the board had requested at the last hearing. I also have Mr. Panchone, you might remember from February, because there was also questions, follow-up questions on alternative sites from the board, and I believe a member to the public. And then I also would like to go to my planner. So I will do my absolute best to get through that. I know we have a date reserved in September as well, but if you would be so kind as to allow us to have our whole hearing. We'll do everything humanly
I will
possible.
follow up with Loretta and make sure that you are the only one on that 17th, no matter who comes and what happens.
Okay.
All right?
I appreciate that.
Okay, so this item is being carried to August 17th without further notice. Next item on the agenda. Thank you. Next item on the
Alexander Martin, Shakti, 3 Round Hill Road, zoning board variance 372,